What's going on, proactivators? I hope you're ready because I'm bringing something today. I'm bringing something. You see, this past week I had the opportunity to attend a conference called the Seven Figure Agency. I wasn't there as an attendee exactly. I was there helping out a good friend of mine. His name is John at his booth. He was one of the sponsors. And I went with him to help run the booth and connect with people. I do this 3 or 4 times a year with him in different conferences. Now, one thing about these conferences that I really enjoy is the environment. The people that attend these events are usually people who are already doing pretty well in business. These are not beginners. They're men and women who have built companies, who have teams, who are generating serious revenue. And yet, they're still showing up to learn. That tells you something about the culture. The conference is part of the Seven Figure Agency group. And what they really emphasize is growth. They emphasize the idea that no matter how well you're doing, there's always another level. There's always another skill to develop, another perspective to learn, another system to improve. Josh Nelson has done an amazing job building that culture. He's created a room full of people who actually want to get better, and that's rare. Because if you think about it, most people reach a certain level of success and they stop learning, they stop being curious, they stop putting themselves in environments where they can be challenged. But in that room, the energy is different. People are sharing ideas, people are talking about what's working, what's not working, what systems they're building, how they're growing their companies, how they're leading their teams. And even though I'm not part of the internal group, I've been able to go for a few years now with John because of the sponsorship. So I get to sit in some sessions. I get to talk with people. I get to experience the environment. And honestly, I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. Not just because of the business conversations, but because of the people. You get to meet some real sharp individuals, people who are disciplined, thoughtful, strategic, people who care about improving themselves. And one of the things I love most about conferences like this is the conversations you have outside the sessions. Sometimes the most valuable insights don't happen on the stage. It happens in the hallway. It happens over coffee or lunch. It happens when two people start talking about an idea and something clicks. And that's exactly what happened this week. I was having a conversation with one of the gentlemen there, and we started talking about consistency. Now, this is something I've talked about before in this podcast. You heard it all the time in personal development. Consistency beats intensity. You heard that phrase everywhere. And listen, I understand the spirit of that statement. I understand what people mean by it. But I have always felt that the conversation is missing something. Because consistency and intensity, they're not enemies. They're not competing forces. They're actually partners. They work together. And the problem is not intensity itself. The problem is how people use the intensity, the level of intensity. That's the problem. You see, intensity gets a bad reputation because most people apply it in the wrong way. When someone decides they want to change their life, they go from 0 to 100 overnight. They decide they're going to wake up at 4 in the morning, go to the gym every day, completely change their diet, read 3 books a week, start a business, fix their finances, repair their relationships, and transform their entire life in 2 weeks. It's a Herculean effort. And for a short period of time, they actually do it. They're fired up. They're motivated. They're intense. But something happens. They hit a wall. Because that level of intensity was never sustainable. And when they crash, they don't blame the strategy. But I think there's a better way to look at it. Consistency and intensity are not opposing forces. The real key is adjusting the level of intensity. When you start something new, the intensity should actually be very small, almost laughable. The goal in the beginning isn't to improve how hard you can go. The goal is to prove that you can show up. Let's say someone wants to start walking for their health. Most people will say, all right, I'm going to walk for an hour every day. And maybe they do it for a week, maybe 2. But eventually life happens. Schedule change. Energy drops. And the habit disappears. But what if the intensity was 5 minutes? 5 minutes. Anyone can walk 5 minutes. Someone might say that's nothing. But that's the point. Because the objective at the beginning is not the physical transformation. The objective is ownership. That's the word that really came out of this conversation. Ownership. If you don't become consistent, you don't own anything. But once you've done something long enough that it becomes part of your identity, now you own something. If someone walks 5 minutes every day after dinner and they do it for 3 months, then 6 months, then a year, something interesting happens. It stops being a task. It becomes part of who they are. Now they're a walker. They walk. Even if it's 5 minutes, their wife knows it. Their kids know it. Their friends know it. After dinner, he goes for his walk. Now the behavior is attached to identity. Now they own it. And once you own something, something powerful happens. Once you own it, you can manage it. You can't manage anything that you don't own. That's the big insight. If you haven't established the identity yet, you don't really have control over the habit. You're still negotiating with it. You're still debating whether you'll do it or not. But once the identity is established, now you have authority over it. Now you can manage it. Now you can say, you know what? I've been walking for 5 minutes for 6 months. I can do 10 minutes. You raise the intensity slightly. Then a few months later, maybe 15, then 20. And before you know it, 3 years later, your entire health trajectory has changed. But it didn't start with heroic intensity. It started with small intensity applied consistently. So the order matters. Before you own it, you have to earn it. And you earn it through consistency and manageable intensity. That's how identities are formed. That's how lives are changed. Slowly, quietly. One small decision repeated again and again. And the beautiful thing is that this principle applies to every pillar of life: faith, family, finances, fitness, focus, and fulfillment. It works everywhere. You don't need a dramatic reinvention. You already have the recipe. You need small actions that become permanent parts of who you are. Because once you own something, you can grow it. But if you never establish ownership, you'll consistently be starting over. You'll consistently be resetting. You'll consistently be chasing motivation. And motivation is unreliable. Identity is powerful. So that was my takeaway from that conversation this week. Consistency and identity. Consistency and intensity are not enemies. Intensity just needs to be calibrated correctly. Start small. Be consistent. Own the habit. And once you own it, you can manage it. You can increase the intensity. You can expand the habit. You can grow the system. But the foundation must come first. Ownership. And that idea is definitely going to find its way into the book, Unleash the Proactivator. Because at the end of the day, the proactivator mindset isn't about dramatic bursts of motivation. It's about building an identity that aligns with the life you want to live. Small actions, repeated consistently until they become who you are. All right, my friends, thank you for listening. This is Gabriel, the Proactivator, and I'll see you guys next time.